Hey, this is John Bokenkamp. You are listening to the Blacklist Exposed on Golden Spiral Media.
It's time to play the name game this week. Welcome to the Blacklist Exposed. I am Agent Troy Heinrichs, but you can call me Fred.
And I am Raymond Red Reddington.
No, you're not.
All right, I'm not. But thanks, Captain Buzzkill. This is Agent Aaron Peterson. I did feel like a total badass for a minute there. I want to thank Troy for ruining my high. Thanks for joining us this week as we discuss number 95 on the Blacklist, Mr. Gregory Devry, which aired January 21st, 2015, was written by Daniel Knopf, who you can hear interviewed on this very show if you scroll through your episode list, and it was directed by Alex Zykerzewski. Show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistexposed.com. Little thanks to Rory for hosting a pre- and post show this week on Blab. Looks like those will be continuing, so keep an eye on Twitter. That's basically our friends in the Blacklist Exposed Facebook group have gathered to discuss the before and after thoughts of each week's episode. That was pretty fun. Looks like those will be continuing, so keep an eye on Twitter, the Facebook group, or visit theblacklistnbc.com for details on how you can join the pre- and post-show party. Also, don't forget the Nicole Phillips interview, who is in charge of the comic book for the Blacklist, the Extended Universe, if I can borrow a term from Marvel. Her interview just posted earlier this week. If you haven't listened to it, great interview. She also wrote episode 13, so in a couple weeks, her episode will be hitting the Blacklist.
Yeah, February 4th, I believe that one comes out.
Yep. And then Mr. Shaloub, Mr. Monk is in that one. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So, Troy, whoa, there was a Twitter explosion over this episode. So what did you think of the episode this week?
Well, I'm just glad you're here because I remember vehemently that you said that if there was a baby that you were going to quit.
Yeah, have you started taking applications yet?
I absolutely started taking applications, but nobody can dig me as well as you can, so in more than one way.
Nobody wants to put up with you as much as I'm willing to. Yeah, I did say that. So what did you think of the episode?
Overall, I thought the episode was actually very well crafted. I thought for 57 minutes or so.
You're stealing my line. Seriously, that's my line.
Is that your line?
I've been saying that everywhere. That's my line. You can't steal my material, son.
Fine. For 45 minutes, I was like, this is really great. And for 10 minutes, I was like, okay, that was predictable. And then for 5 minutes, it was like, did we really have to go there?
All right. Well, let me take it over because it's basically Troy's just trying to say what I said. 55 minutes, I thought this was a really fun show. I had a really fun time, even though it was predictable. I mean, I knew what was going to happen about 5 minutes in just because of how things set up. But there were 5 minutes that I'll be quite honest, wasn't a fan of, but we'll get into that as we go. You can't love everything, man. Can't hit you. Can't be perfection every week. You know what I mean?
Well, your 5 minutes might be different than my 5 minutes.
That's true. It's a personal opinion, and that's what we do on the show. We discuss our opinions on the show. And I think right now there's a certain topic that comes up throughout the show, which we'll be dealing with probably closer to the end of the show, that's a little bit more divisive than some of the others of episodes past. So that'll be interesting once we get into that. But before we do, because we do have to do our special agent intel from the previous week, or basically our profile question, I'm sorry. Before we get into that, there was some upsetness. Would you call it outrage? I don't know if I'd call it outrage.
They were a little bit miffed, I think.
Miffed? All right, miffed. Some people that are part of the movement. Is it a movement?
Yeah.
Do they have like a mascot or something? I don't know. But there's apparently a group of people, which I knew people were into it. I didn't know there was a grouping, like they assembled like Avengers, of people that are fans of the Red and Lizzington shipping area. Like they could go together as a couple. Many people are fans of that idea. I'm not one of them, but many people are. And they felt, well, Trey, why don't you explain what they felt? Some
people were saying that you thought that there was a little bit of hate in your comment when you were singing Frozen last week on the show. And I took it as a joke because I know that we like all theories on the podcast. Everybody's welcome. I didn't think you said it with hate. I thought it was a joke, but apparently some other people didn't take it that way.
Yeah, it was totally a joke. It was. I think if you know me or you listen to the show even more than once or twice, you would know that that's 99% of what I say is jokes. Or they don't always work, obviously, as this one did not.
Yeah, sometimes you are the joke.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Dressler, Amar.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. But what I was saying was I'm not a fan of that idea. For me, and I think they felt like, well, just because of the age discrepancy, you're going to discount the idea. No, that's not why I'm not a fan of the Red and Reddington getting together theory. People can be a fan of whatever they want. I don't care. I really don't care. I'm not one of those people that's going to take it personal no matter what you think. I was only saying that it doesn't appear to be that way at all to me. My personal opinion, I don't see it. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I don't think they've done anything that has made it impossible for that to be the case. And it's definitely not the age discrepancy because it's only like 15 years, I think. It's really not that much. I mean, go to Vegas. You'll see a 70-year-old guy with a 20-year-old. Normal. That's normal there. So that doesn't bother me at all. It was just more, for me personally, as I watch the show, as many episodes as I've seen of the show, which are all of them, I see it more of a parental figure. Not necessarily dad, or it could be uncle, it could be something along those lines, but a father-ish figure looking over his daughter-ish figure. Not necessarily. I'm not saying it's her dad or anything. I'm just saying, you get what I'm saying, Troy?
Yeah, you're saying that you just want to completely avoid saying mother in that entire conversation.
Yeah, I definitely do, because that's just creepy. Now, that theory's dumb. See, that theory? I said that. I flat out said that one's dumb. So
yeah,
if you believe that one, I'm
theory.
sorry. I do hate that theory. But no, so for the Reddington shippers out there, I don't hate your theory at all. It was really a joke. And I'll probably make it again in some other way. So I apologize in advance for any offensive material I eventually throw out. How's that?
There you go.
But no, it meant no offense. It was totally a joke.
You're covered now for the rest of your life.
Exactly. I'm going to pull a Chris Pratt, which is when he came out for Jurassic Park's publicity tour. He apologized for anything offensive he might say ahead of time. That's what I'm doing, because I guarantee I will. So,
and if you have a problem with it, you can take it up with his lawyer, Marvin Gerard.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, hopefully we cleared that up and we can get back to the fun, which is...
Yeah, answering our profiling question from last week, which was, why does Red want a seat at the table? And we had some pretty good answers this week, I think. Some well-thought-out ones. Yeah,
Tessa, realistically, the Cabal is much larger than what we have seen. We saw the Cabal contractors like Solomon and the lower-level operatives like Fitch, Peter, and Hitchens, and the people we saw at the meetings, probably also intelligence officers from around the world, and some head of industries brought up by the leaders to further their agenda. But the upper echelons of the Cabal we have not seen. We know of the Bond people. That's it. The Bond people?
Yeah, it was like one of the earlier episodes, maybe early season 2.
Oh, okay. You're right. Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
And she actually submitted that before she saw the map this week, so just want to clear that up. So that was all Tessa on that one.
You're just so ready for an Alias reference right now, aren't you?
I'm holding back.
Just chewing on it?
I'm holding on to my chair.
Kevin said, I'm thinking Fitch told Red, you stole some very incriminating evidence from us, quote unquote, when you left. Was us the Cabal in the first place and not the government as I had originally thought? And Red had to take out the players who knew him in order to get back into the Cabal 20-odd years later? Now? Secondly, well, let's take that one first. What do you think of that theory?
Well, when Fitch was sitting in front of him in Ansel Garrick and he said, you took something from us, I assumed at that point it was not the government. I thought it was some other organization, which we then later find out to be the Cabal. So It's interesting that some people thought that it was about the government.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of... I just go with what Troy says. He remembers things better than I do. I'm old and senile, and obviously, I just can't let it go. Secondarily, maybe Red is actually a product of the Major himself and was planted, Tom Keen style, into Katarina's life for counterintelligence purposes, but like Tom, became romantically involved with her and came to care for her child, Masha.
Now that is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time I think I've ever heard it put that way, or that kind of concept or theory. I actually kind of like that a lot.
Yep.
Because then we see a lot of similarities as the show goes along with the way Red's life is versus Keen's life in this third season. Some things between Red's life and Tom's life. So I think this is really interesting because it would literally show the bridge between some of our characters and how they have to deal with similar situations.
Yeah, I really like that theory. It makes total sense, too. I mean, it could work. I mean, it's one of those theories that could work.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot easier to explain than extensive plastic surgery that cuts off the mom and daddy buttons. Carol says, the best way to take them down is to take a chair at the table and destroy it from the inside. I'm with Carol. John, 2 things we know about Red. He loves money and he loves power.
I'm with John.
And he loves his light, too.
Yeah.
Brandy, he wants to take down everyone who tried to hurt Lizzie. There's probably some truth to that.
And that's, 20, 30 plus years of people.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of people that want to hurt Lizzie. Robin, he can take out Laurel faster, and I'm not talking about taking her out to dinner. Nice. David said in order to find Katerina Rostova, I think there's probably some truth there, too. Finally, Christopher said, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. There's no better place to learn all about the Cabal than sitting right beside them.
Great answers once again, Special Agents, but...
Can I ask you a question
go ahead.
before you move on? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
That brings up a really good point. Okay, so, this whole episode deals with criminal masterminds finally putting together that Red is working with the FBI, right?
Right.
Okay. Wouldn't you think or ponder that since the Cabal is aware that Red is working with the FBI, right? They are clearly aware that he is working with the FBI. Wouldn't some of them be involved with those same criminal masterminds to some degree? Or is that completely separate in your opinion?
I think based on the press conference from last week that it's completely separate because Laurel said that the purpose of the Cabal was specifically to incite a Cold War with Russia and start that back up again. So maybe the Cabal isn't necessarily criminal masterminds. Maybe the Cabal is only United States based. And until we see the map, do we realize there may be other cells other places, but it's not to say those aren't U.S. positions or, government bases or CIA secret sites or something.
Okay, I just thought it was worth pondering the question because it really, actually, Christopher, your question specifically is what made that click in my head where I'm like, wait a minute, that if you think about it, I mean, these are the top criminals in the world, and the Cabal is honestly a criminal organization, so to speak. So, corrupt politicians, whatever, power brokers. So I would think at some point they would crisscross, and the fact that Red is working with them would be clearly established. But, okay, good point.
I'm going to call them a criminal organization, maybe a political organization that uses criminal activity to...
If you're criminals, I think you're a criminal organization.
What?
I don't really, I don't care if you're whatever, you work for whatever, you the high and mighty, the government, whatever. If you're still breaking the law, you're a criminal organization.
Well, their Jerry Maguire mission statement probably isn't like, we're going to go ahead and, steal stuff from the world. I mean, the mission statement is we're just an organization
so awesome.
That wants to get a Cold War memo.
Oh, God, if they had a mission statement, that would be fantastic. I really hope the writers work on that. Guys, what's the Cabal's mission statement? And just have it hanging on a wall.
Thanks.
In the president's office.
I read the memo.
That's awesome. Sorry, I didn't mean to pull you off track.
No, that's fine. But next week's question, obviously, is the big one we've all been asking for the last few days.
How do you feel about a blacklist baby? I got a feeling we're going to get a few comments on that. How do you feel about a blacklist baby?
And that's a hashtag, blacklist baby. It's already out there on Twitter.
It sure is, boy. It's trending.
It is indeed. Now, join us at our password-protected penthouse as we discuss this week's case profile.
All right, well, we start the episode with Mr. Kaplan and her ladies cleaning up a murder scene when the girls are gunned down. Sons of bitches. And Kaplan is left alive to deliver a message. Tell him we know. Now, the first thing I thought was, yeah, we know. We know you're going to get shot in the head by the end of this episode. So what did you think initially this message was?
Well, initially when it first came on, I thought maybe it was still tied back to the director somehow, because these were actual people that weren't tied with the entire episode. So I thought maybe this would have been like a B story or a side story, and then it was kind of mixed into the conversation with Mr. Gregory Devry. But apparently this was somebody actually hired by, I'm going to forget his name because I cannot pronounce it, Caligiuri.
Yeah, Marcus.
Marcus, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was an interesting twist, and that leads us to a room where a mysterious man, roughly Red's age, I would say,
Yeah.
is studying previous Blacklist targets. Coincidence? I think not.
No.
Were you at this point, because I'll be honest with you, okay? I know a lot of people were like, oh, I was mind blown. This is the moment when I figured the entire plot out. I don't know about you.
This is when you actually said, oh, he actually knows Red and is working with Red and he's a friend of Red's and it's a plant. You got that whole thing from that first scene.
I did, yeah.
Wow.
You
Good
did
for
not?
you. I didn't get the whole... I mean, I didn't think he was going to be Raymond Red Reddington, but I didn't see how the entire story was going to unfold until we got to at least Shell Island.
I did. And that's... maybe that's a testament to how much television I watch, and I should really go outside a lot more. But as soon as I saw, there's basically, if you go back and look, all the Blacklist targets are up there, right? All the details about everything in regards to them. And he said he has a thing tacked over it that says Blacklist, okay? The only way, in my mind, as a viewer, he would know that it was called the Blacklist is if Red told him. So, to me, I just saw, as soon as I saw Blacklist, I was like, okay, so Red basically hired him because I knew at some point this was going to have to come around because he's been jotting around the world or the country with Liz. It's been all over the news. He has to do something at some point or nobody's going to take him seriously. I knew that. So, yeah, that's where I put it 2 and 2 together.
Well, I have to hand it to him from a normal television viewer's perspective. I love the fact that they used basically only season 1 blacklisters. So the only non-season 1 blacklister that was up there was the director.
Very good.
So it was trying to lure you in just enough to go, maybe this is possible.
Things that make you go, Well, there's enough throughout the episode to make you wonder, though. There was. Well, otherwise in the episode, Red tasks Liz and company to find Shell Island, a closed meeting where the leaders of the worst groups of people on the planet gather to deal with, quote-unquote, a problem. Howard Jasnick was arranging travel for a man that claims to be one Raymond Reddington. And that's when we get our captive, our Raymond Reddington. Now, I want to know, this Raymond Reddington, he knows details, data, information in Shell Island. Did you ever think throughout the episode that he actually might be Red?
At one point. The only point I was like, finally, because I was like, there's no way he's the Raymond Reddington from the start, right? Mm-hmm. And then he starts going about, I was on this mission and it was off book and it was in Kuwait and Harold Cooper can prove it. And I was like, dang it, maybe he is the guy. And then I'm like, and that's the first part where I started to think, okay, well, maybe Raymond could have told Raymond about that, and that's why he knows. And then that started to creep in, and then when we finally get to him showing up at Shell Island, then I was like, oh yeah, they're working together.
Okay, I was just curious, because I think there were several people that actually thought this storyline was going to carry on for a long time. Because he was just so convincing to a lot of people. And there were definitely moments where I'm like, maybe. And for those that weren't, I figured out where I knew the actor from, Jack Weber. I think there's only one B, so it's Weber. He was on a show called Hell on Wheels.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever watch Hell on Wheels? He was John Campbell. Yeah, and man, he was so great in that. So that's where I knew him from. So I knew him from somewhere, and I had to look it up, and I was so happy when I finally figured it out. I'm like, oh, got it. Yep, but he was our Raymond Reddington, our Fred. This leads to, I guess I should ask the Shell Island thing. That's kind of a cool concept.
I totally want to have a secret club where all of my enemies get together so that we can actually have dinner and then just tell old war stories.
It's like the criminal version of a Mickey Mouse Club.
Totally.
Let's have a secret meeting. We got a problem. And then there's like a decoder ring or something. That would be pretty cool. Also coming into play in this episode, Janet Macnamara is an FBI executive who is taken and knows all about their arrangement and apparently spills everything.
So apparently
Janet.
You can have...
Damn it, Janet.
Damn it, Janet. Apparently you can have jobs in the FBI that aren't agents. This is, I think, the first time I never thought about it that way, that there could be non-agent-based operations within the FBI.
I mean, yeah, executive VP, that sort of thing. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it makes it feel more business-like, though, doesn't it?
It totally does.
Yeah.
Like a corporation. Well,
it kind of is at this point. Troy, sorry to break it to you, but the government's kind of a corporation.
Yep.
Fred, as we're going to call him, Fred. I mean, his name's Gregory, but he's not Gregory until like the funeral, so really he's Fred. He knows all about Beirut in 1985, and he knows about June 1989 Operation Minesweep in Kuwait, and also that Red, or Raymond, held TSSCI clearance, which stands for Top Secret Sensitive Compartmented Information. So at that's the point where you're kind of like, whoa, he knows Kuwait. Maybe it is Red.
Maybe it was Red. And I love that we keep coming back to the Kuwait story. Somewhere along the lines, I think something happened in Kuwait in 89 because it's just before 1990 when he disappears.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Kuwait thing is bigger in the overall myth arc.
Well, especially because Cooper freaked out. He's like, whoa, how's he know that? Well, I mean, he said it deeper and cooler, but
right.
How's he know that? I can't pull it off. I'm sorry. I tried. I can do Stallone. That's really the only impression I can do. Of course, the fake Red offers to be their snitch and take them to the meeting, which Red is already at, conveniently. And after a fun grammar lesson on Dig Dug, Marcus establishes that Red is, in fact, a rat. He's the one who took Janet, and he killed Kaplan's ladies, and he's standing in Red's light. Apparently, they had a bad karaoke night years ago. Tell me about what you think about all this. I mean, this is a masterful trap. They've got Red. They've got him.
I thought this was just brilliant because you have the criminals are all sitting around the table going like, we're pretty smart people and we don't know what the hell's going on here. Like, yeah. Do I believe you? Do I believe you? It's like, wait, I want to hear the story. No, I don't care about the story. And yeah, it's double GED on the end.
Yeah, when Red got there, everybody was ready to kill him. I mean, they all said, yeah, it's Dig. It's Doug. It's whatever stance they took on the grammar.
Just get the video game in here so we can play. We can just square off. Player 1 versus player 2. Whoever loses dies.
I mean, you could tell they wanted Red's head. Red's dead. What other words can rhyme with Red? They're going to bury him in the shed. And then afterward, they'll eat some bread. I don't know.
Someone's going to get full of lead.
Oh, there you go. Hey, we got more. So, okay. So
don't tread on my conversation.
Oh, my God. And then Fred, that rhymes too, shows up. At this point, all of us should know TV 101 enough to know that Red has set all this up to clear his name. He takes the rap and a bullet, thanks to cufflinks, which, is that a fact? I think everybody should rewatch every episode to see if Red has ever worn cufflinks.
I agree.
Just on principle. So my big question was, after all this, okay, so all this stuff happened to clear Red's name. And we're going to get to the individual characters and where they are and everything else in a minute. But all this stuff happened to clear Red's name. If you're a master criminal sitting at that table in this particular environment, all these things happen, would this be enough to clear your concerns?
Yeah, because you just saved my life and my operations because you got me to escape from an FBI raid that was coming to kidnap me and take me into hostage, and bring me into jail for the rest of my life. So, yeah, I would totally believe this guy because he just saved my life.
So you're on board?
I'm on board. Until, and this is one of my 5 minutes, when you just sit there and you go, well, he's still going to kidnap other blacklisters, right? Because John mentioned on our Fan Appreciation Blab event that, the sweet spot is like season 6, season 7. So who's he going to go after now? Because if people go after their friends, their criminal activity, and start taking them down again, he's going to have to do this whole plan again, except Fred's dead.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. And that's one that I would have probably made eventually, but I haven't made it yet. Because this happens, he just cleared his name. So as people continue to drop, the show's called The Blacklist, assume it's going to keep going on. How in the world can you explain that to these people?
Unless the blacklisters that we're going to see going forward aren't connected with this criminal organization. Okay, so who would they? They're just. I mean, they'd be Cabal
loosely
members.
Connected.
Well, yeah, but they'd be Cabal members specifically, and maybe because notice that when he brought out the map, he said that these are the Cabal members, these are the cooperative people, and these are the people that are against the Cabal. So there was like 3 factions. So the question is which one of those 3 factions are going to be our blacklisters going forward as the series progresses?
Well, we'll get more into that flipping map in a little bit, so calm down. All right, Janet is freed at the end, and Red has a nice little chat with her. But I got to tell you, it felt more like a threat than a conversation.
Absolutely felt like a threat. It was like, you're going to go here, you're going to enjoy the sunrise, and you're going to like it.
Yeah, I'll be checking in on you to make sure you're safe. Just the delivery was like, I would do everything he said because I got a feeling I'm going to die if I don't.
It was more like, you're going to do everything I said because if you don't, I'll kill you myself.
Now, would you consider her a snitch? I mean, they kind of kidnapped her. They held her family. They threatened her family. I mean, is that really a snitch?
No, she's weak. The fact that these guys just took down 2 people in the hallway and you work for the FBI and you know the protocol. So why would you run with your kid?
Yeah,
so
that was pretty dumb.
She's just a weak person. And because she's weak, she would blab very easily.
So she's a liability.
Yes.
Okay. So you're okay with him threatening a mom?
Well, I don't know if the threatening part I'm okay with, but I mean, at the end of the day, he's going to do what he needs to do to protect himself. So yeah, if she's a liability, he'll take her out. That's Fred.
Okay. Well, at the end, turns out Fred, we finally find out, is Gregory Devry, a con man who Red hired to help clear his name in the criminal underworld. I really like this character and kind of wish. This is one of those instances. That's the end of the basic plot of the episode. We got a lot more to talk about, but this is one of those instances where, and we've talked about it before, where I thought a storyline should be carried out a little bit longer. When this episode started, because this is such a you can only use it one time kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really would have liked to be the back half of the season, where you have competing elements of this guy's coming into the world saying he's Red Reddington, and then we slowly build to this ending, which is what just happened. For me personally, and I realize they probably had to rush it because of the Liz issue, pregnancy issue, but I think this is one of those times where I think this storyline really could have been stretched out over, if not several episodes, the rest of the back half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about Daniel Knopf writing this, and when we interviewed him on episode 30 of the podcast, he talked about how he usually gets tasked with writing the second episode of the season because it's always hard to follow up the premiere, and he always writes the penultimate episode leading into the finale, which is also very hard to set up. And so this seems like it could have been like a penultimate episode. It was really a great reveal and a great pace, which Daniel's known for. But at the same time, it felt like you could have actually done a whole arc of maybe 8 episodes or so of this guy and maybe some backstory and really, really get people bought in and then go, oh, here's the big reveal.
Mm-hmm. So are you disappointed in that at all? Because I guess for me, this is one of those... Let me explain it, I guess. What's the best way to explain it? And I'm not disappointed in the story. I think the story worked well and the episode played well in terms of, I mean, I did find it a little predictable, but I also really enjoyed it. And I do admit that I probably watch way too much television. Not as much as Troy, but still too much television. I guess this is one of those things that can only be used once. It's like a story element that can only be played. It's a card that can only be played once. Kind of like get out of jail free card Monopoly. You can only use it. Well, I guess you get 2 of those, but if you lost one of them, it's like Monopoly. So for me, this element of the story, which I knew was going to have to come up at some point because he's been running around with Liz. It's been all over the media. At some point, he has to reestablish himself as a criminal. And I just feel like it almost felt a little rushed. Or not rushed, because I think it was handled in adequate time. I mean, the story was well told. It was just, I really think it could have been fleshed out more. I really think this could have been a more detailed and layered story that was played out over several episodes. More serialized story.
Well, and I think we're looking at it from that perspective because you're thinking about, oh, this is such a great story. Why would you burn it now? But maybe the fact is that they had to burn it now because now that he is back in good graces with the criminals, he can use those criminals in his agenda against the cabal, and it's setting up a bigger story.
Right. And I know it's really not a fair assessment for me because I'm always the one touting how happy I am that they resolve things quickly. So it's really, I'm just being a hypocrite here. It's just, this is one of those rare occurrences where I could really see that storyline being fleshed out a little bit more. But hey, it's done now. So that's one of the things I love about the show, and I'm going to have to just live with it.
And honestly, for me, I said this was actually probably a good way to do it because I didn't want it drawn out. Because the first thing they said when I saw the preview last week, I was like, okay, John Eisendrath, fake Red. We've already done fake Arvin Sloan, and that drug out more episodes than I probably would have liked in season 4 of Alias. So I was like, okay, this is great. One and done, and it's over. So, because I didn't want to have to think about fake Sloan for multiple weeks.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm just being a dum-dum. Let's get into the characters. That's where we get a lot of stuff. And yes, we will get to the magical event at the very end. First was the music, because we've added music as one of the characters. Why don't you talk to the music?
Yeah, I thought the music this week was really interesting because I was even texting Aaron as he was doing the Twitter thing as we're watching the show. And I was like, man, does this not feel like season 1, like all over again? Liz comes to Red gives her a case. And it just felt very season 1-like. I mean, even with Liz sitting down in the chair doing the profiling thing with Reddington in the box, or Reddington. And so then she puts in the Walkman and she's got it on and she's starting the cleaning process, Kaplan. And we get right back where we started from Maxine Nightingale. I was like, oh, is that so brilliant?
Yeah, that was really well done.
And then at the end of the episode, the Half Moon runs, it works itself out. The opening line there, is it all that you need to get by, to feel good, satisfied that you did what you could? I mean, literally playing as she's starting her new life in her apartment. I think this was a really great song to kind of say, hey, Liz, have you done everything that you can? And are you happy with your choice?
I know I wasn't. Okay, so Dembe stands stoically. He really doesn't get much to do this episode. Hisham was more the muscle, the behind the scenes, given intimidating looks, which he does extremely well. So that was well done. But there's not much of his character in this episode.
Well, what does he do after he takes the phone from Red, and then Red goes up the elevator? Does he go back to the bar? Does he go get a meal?
He has a cocktail.
Does he leave the building?
He's too cool to not have a cocktail, man. He's like James Bond in Red's world. So yeah, he's having a cocktail, chilling out. Aram, he's got Doctor Who on the mainframe, so his geek cred is completely intact, I think, when he's back in the post office.
But he references a different doctor. I mean, I personally like David Tennant myself.
I don't watch Doctor Who because I'm too busy having a life, so I don't know. That's right. I just offended every Doctor Who fan.
Yeah, we did.
No, we did, and I did. Don't.
I'm sure there's Doctor Who fans that are like, that's the best Doctor. You're an idiot for liking Tennant. So. Well,
I can tell you, Tennant is one of my favorite character actors currently. I mean, Jessica Jones, he was great. He's been great in a lot of the Fright Night remake. He was great in that. So
Broadchurch and Grace Point, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If I watched Doctor Who, I would probably watch the Tennant episodes. But Aram also plays part of the audience because at one point he says, "My head is definitely going to explode." Over this whole multiple Reds. There's so many Reds. I think on Twitter I made a joke, how many Reds does it take to...
Screw in a light bulb.
Screw in a light bulb, yeah. Did you get confused? I mean, because I know a lot of people were really getting confused with all of this.
The first time through, it took a few minutes to let it sink in after the show, and then my wife got home late, so she watched it a second time, immediately after I just finished. So watching it through the second time, it was much more clear, obviously. And then a third time, it's all crystal now.
That's right. Crystal. Oh, great. Now I got to watch A Few Good Men. Cooper has to give Liz the bad news that she's really not an agent, can't carry guns. She's just a consultant, I believe is the word he used. So, this is one thing where I was paying attention this week to Twitter, especially while the show was airing, and kind of seeing what people's responses were. And the one thing that I kept seeing over and over were people were really disappointed that she's no longer an agent. Now, I didn't think it was really going to be an issue for me, but then as this episode played out and you realize what that really entails, I kind of, to a degree, see where they're coming from.
I suppose. I think I like her not as an agent because I think, like Cooper said, she's a great profiler. And you can do more profiling without having to necessarily be an agent and being in a field with a firearm. It's almost like your weapon is your mind at that point. And I think that will help us learn Liz's psyche a little bit more, especially as she's dealing with, emotions and hormones and things of that nature as things progress. So I think it's more interesting from a storytelling perspective because then it makes Samar and Ressler, partners again in the field. And you have to understand that dynamic, which we got to see a little bit in this episode.
And speaking of, Samara got her job back. She's back in the post office. That was quick. And she is pissed at Ressler. Boy, is she pissed. And Ressler calls her out on it, which is probably one of my favorite moments of the episode because it was so awkward. It was just shy of the gnome incident, I think. She says, where he calls her, he's like, hey, you didn't even talk to me in the car. What's up? We slept together one day and you fired me the next. You dum-dum. So funny. What do you think about this relationship going forward? Do you like that they're actually addressing this dynamic? They're not just leaving it in the dirt like, hey, she walked it off. She's over it.
Well, now the question becomes, who do you want Samar to be with? Do you want Samar to be productive, standalone on her own woman? Do you want her to maybe go back to Aram somehow and maybe actually do a relationship there? Or do you want these two to have this kind of sexual tension between each other and have them hook up again?
I don't want her to be with anybody. I really don't. I don't. I don't like that aspect of anything. Why does she need to be with anybody? I mean, just let her be an agent, let her do her thing, and we'll go from there.
Well, it's kind of like Liz. She's like, hey, I want to, I don't necessarily know what I want now, but I know what I want right now. You could have Samar kind of be that same way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Kind of badass in a way.
Yeah, it is kind of badass. I think after you've had the, where she slept with Wrestler and that caused, really, I think just shy of the Liz issue that just happened with her being pregnant, Samara was part of the biggest, most talked about thing on the blacklist. And I think it's time to give that a little bit of a rest for a bit. Mm-hmm. I don't think she needs to be having knowing looks with Aram. I don't think she needs to be having back and forth romantic hijinks with Wrestler. I think just let her be a character for a while. Let Wrestler be a character for a while. Let's let the show play out and get a little less, I don't want to say soap opera-y because I don't think that's quite fair, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Right.
Okay.
I hear Charlene's on the market. Maybe Aram can go that route. No, just kidding.
Wow. Wow, Troy. Wow. All right. Well, Mr. Just Doing My Job is...
Great line, by the way.
Yeah, I really like that. Nice delivery. Is fast enough to catch a moving truck. But apparently, the FBI doesn't teach you how to shoot the tires out. Why can nobody shoot tires out in these shows? Okay,
this is 2 of my 5 minutes. So that's, 3 of my 5 minutes now? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. The truck pulls away. I mean, the entire, hanging on the back, getting shot through the back of the truck, trying to shoot out the tires. Love the scene. I think that was great. So just tell production to say, okay, the truck doesn't move until Wrestler gets on it. Because the truck is literally a block down the road before he gets out the front door. And then he falls off the truck, when he lands on the car's windshield, and the truck pulls away. It's like, well, if he caught it the first time, why can't he catch it a second time?
Well, he's tired. I mean, it takes a lot of energy to catch up to begin with. And I don't know about you, but could you catch a moving truck? I couldn't catch one.
Nobody can catch a moving truck.
That is not true. Some people could catch a moving truck. Most of them are
Superman or the Flash, maybe.
Exactly. Maybe they thought they were on the CW for a minute.
Yeah, so that was 2 minutes of this episode. I was like, okay, you could have just had the truck stay there and only start to pull away the second he steps out the door, because then it's more believable, because it was not believable.
It drives me nuts when you see cops, chasing a car, and I know I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people that feel the same way. Chasing a vehicle of any kind, and they don't shoot the tires out. They just shoot at the door or whatever they're shooting at. Why are you shooting at the door? What is that going to do? The tire, it's a car. Or a truck, as the case may be.
Why are you shooting at the tire when you're on the back of the vehicle and you're going to get flipped and die?
No. I mean,
you should have shot the tire up instead of trying to chase it down and jump on. You should have just shot the tire from behind it while he was
both running. Times. But when he fell off the truck and then he got up and he shot at the truck, he shot mid-level, or at least it looked like that. And it's like, why didn't you shoot the tire?
Yeah, when
you have to be a trained marksman, I'm assuming, to be an active FBI agent. Shoot the damn tire.
Right.
We have to take away your shooting badge. All right. At least I still love Wrestler and his hair. I don't think his hair moved in that whole chase.
No.
And if it did, it just bounced with the hair products. It looked gorgeous when he was done.
And now there's a dent of the hair mullet inside of the windshield of the car.
That's so funny. Poor Diego, if he's listening, he goes, "You sons of bitches, talk about my hair one more time." Mr. Kaplan, does she call it Red Dewey or Deary?
Deary.
Like,
hey,
okay.
Deary.
Okay.
She's very old-fashioned that way.
I thought she said Dewey. I'm like, let's jump all over that. Let's make it a thing. Let's call him Dewey. But apparently I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Deary.
She seemed very irritated about this whole situation. And
do you know how hard it is right now to find good people to work for you? I mean,
Yes.
the amount of
Yeah.
I mean, just the one day of applications I had to take for your job was frustrating enough. Like now she's got to get 3 people to work for her. That's just stress.
I bet everybody you talked to is more qualified and probably offended a lot less people. So you might want to go with one of them. At the end of the episode, she said something that caught a lot of people's eye or ear, as the case may be. You won't lose her no matter what happens. Wow. The thing I like most about that is, I've seen some scuttlebutt on the internet and whatnot where people are like, is she or isn't she really important to Red? And I like these little affirmations because they remind us that, yes, he does care about her. He might have selfish plans and he might have a nefarious agenda, but ultimately he does care about Liz. And things like that, when his number 2 says things like that, I think that's very important to take note.
It makes the writing on the show great, too, because you won't lose her no matter what could be taken of you won't lose her because you care for her, you love her, you're parental, whatever it is, or you won't lose her because it's part of your master plan, and I'll make sure that she's always in the plan until the plan is successful. So you can take this any way you want based on how you're viewing the show and how you feel about the character.
True. I took it as affirmation. That's the way I took it. Tom, boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so haven't talked much about my 5 minutes that I didn't like about this episode.
This is 1, so I'm at 4 of my 5.
It's about 2.5 of mine. This whole proposal thing, no, it didn't work for me at all. And I know that people are like, he's earned it, and look what he did and everything he did for her. You know what? I'm sorry, and I know Mr. Knopf has said he's definitely trying to redeem Tom, and he's a big fan of Tom, and I respect that from an artistic perspective. I don't think he's earned it, and I do commend that Liz didn't say yes or jump on it and said, I don't know what I'm going to need 10 years from now. I like their response to it, but the fact that he just went for it so soon after everything happened, it just didn't work for me. And her, I don't know, just jumping back into his arms after everything he's done, I'm just not there yet. I'm just not on board the Tom bandwagon, Tom and Liz bandwagon, I should say. I like Tom. Tom as a character. I think Ryan's been playing him great as a badass and everything. But just because you do that doesn't make me forget all the things he did the first year and a half. You know what I mean?
Well, you think about it this way. The relationship is interesting because they've kind of needed each other. He needed her for a job. She needed him for comfort because of starting a family and a new job and all of that jazz. At the same time, this is at a point now where I think that she just realizes that it's a crutch. It's a need more than it's a want, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's a want versus a need. I always get those confused. I just like buying stuff. But at the same time, she wants to get it on. She wants to have sexy time. So this is the one person where she can actually make that happen with and not have any remorse.
Her or her body double wants to have sexy time. We're not sure.
Yeah. That was another half of my minutes. I was like, you got to kiss her stomach when we know she's pregnant. We know it's a body double.
I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
No, that's pretty much it. Just the fact that she wants sexy time and she knows that she can get it from Tom because Tom wants it also.
Yeah. Man.
It's like, I got all this energy. I've been on the run for 3 months. I got to get it out.
This proposal didn't work for me at all. Not even a little bit. I wish I could say that it did a little, and I liked portions. I didn't like it at all. I thought they should have axed it completely.
And I'm really appreciative that we don't have a ton of, really blatant product placements in the show. But this is one where it's like Lifesaver should have been all over this. Because if it was a Lifesaver rig, I mean, it would have been so much better. A dirty washer is the best you can do.
Wow. Yeah, nothing says love like, here's a dirty washer, baby. Let's
pop
go
her a
into the
Lifesaver
sunset.
and say, hey, we're going to have sex anyway. You need a mint.
Yep. Okay, how about Red and he's confrontation at the end? And I did like sexy time. I thought that was... I would have been fine with a sex moment. It's just the proposal that preceded it just killed that moment for me because I'm just like, what? No, it doesn't work for me.
It should have been more, and I'm not to rip on Daniel's writing because Daniel's obviously much more qualified than all of us, but it would have been cool to see her come up and say, permission to come aboard, Captain. And he's like, permission granted. And then sexy time starts.
No, it would not. You are absolutely wrong, and thank you, Daniel, for not doing that, because, God, that sounds awful. That sounds awful.
It does.
God, it's like an MTV series.
But it's better than a washer.
No, I think Washer beats that one.
Okay.
That's how... Thank you for showing that it could have went worse, though. I appreciate that.
See, now you appreciate the washer. I did my job.
I didn't say I appreciate the Washer, but all right. So Tom says the line that makes every fan go, "See?" when he's confronting Red.
No. It was just a comment. It wasn't anything to be read into.
Read into. That's what you did there.
Yep.
When he goes to talk to Red, and Red's like, "You ain't gonna marry her again. You already married her once against my objections." And you get that look like, "I might cut you." And Tom says, and I quote, "Why? Because I didn't ask Daddy's permission? Thanks, guys. Thanks for making the internet go nuts. Appreciate that."
Already said he's not the father. He said he's not the father. John said on this podcast, Red doesn't lie to Liz.
Yeah, but then you go, you sneaky SOB. If you go and read his interview, John Bokenkamp did an interview on Entertainment Weekly right after this episode to talk about the pregnancy, and they also talked about this conversation. And he doesn't discount it in that interview. It's almost like he just loves feeding the fan frenzy on this. You know what I mean? Like he discusses it, and he doesn't like just shoot it down. He shot it. To my impression, has shot it down in the past, but he did not shoot it down in that interview. It's almost like he's gleefully just chewing on the like hee. I can almost see the hee in his words. You SOB. Okay, so do you think, does this bring back in your mind the theory that Red is her dad?
No.
That's the question you got to ask.
Nope. He said
Same
it.
here.
He said it as a joke.
Yep.
Because Tom doesn't know the relationship, so Tom could think that it's like your daddy like. So that's why he said it. He said it as a joke. He's like, "Oh, because you're like the daddy of the situation. So did I ask Daddy's permission?" So yeah, no,
I definitely agree with that. And I think, what I did see, and just going back to the Lizzington shipper thing, where people that are on board that camp were really, really mad about that, because it basically, I don't want to say basically, because all theories are still in play. But it kind of made the assumption that that is not the case and shot that theory down to a degree.
Well, I would say that the shippers would be more angry because of the fact that she's pregnant.
Well, yeah, that didn't hurt. That didn't help either.
Right.
I'm just saying, I saw that a lot. And, obviously I can't speak. Let It Go killed my ability to speak to that, apparently. But I'm telling you that there was some upsetness, some outrage about that as well. And I mean, honestly, that's the way I see the relationship. It just is. I don't see him as her dad. It's just a parental figure of some sort. For some reason, he feels responsible for her well-being as a person.
Yes.
And that leads us to Red. Red busts out the Alias Risk Map that Troy's just been dying to talk about as he refers to Hydra. Yeah, there's another Marvel reference. Kinda. And I know it's mythic as well, but come on, right now, it's Captain America. And establishes that this is a mythic battle we're not done with yet. What do you think about this, Mr. Alias?
Well, I mean, when they first said that they were going to have the imposter Red, I was like, okay, this is the fake Arvin Sloan concept from Alias. And then when the map comes out on the table, I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. This is literally season 1, episode 2 of Alias when they pull out the SD6 map, and Vaughn's like, this isn't about, cutting off the arm of the beast. It's about killing the beast. Mm-hmm. And so literally it's almost the same kind of conversation of, it's not about, you cut off one head of the Hydra, another head's going to spin up. So there's no way we're not done yet, is basically what it comes down to, is what Vaughn tells Sydney and Alias. Red tells Liz the exact same thing. Yeah,
and what this tells me is that this is the setup for the future of the show.
Absolutely.
This is what part of the goal is to bring these three, did you say 3 factions? Is that what you took from it?
Yeah, there's the Cabal, there's the players that help the Cabal, and the players that are against the Cabal.
There you go. It's set up to take those 3 factions down.
Which if you go season 4, season 5, season 6, there's your 3 seasons right there.
In theory. We don't know that for sure. That's what we took from it.
Yeah.
And specifically Red mentions that Katerina Rostova was so iconic and important that Masha Rostova is now in constant danger.
But wait, you told me Katerina Rostova was dead.
Yeah. Is she dead? Because I thought that was one comment that shouldn't go over any fan's head. I think everybody should make sure that should be pointed to.
Right.
Is that Liz called him out on that.
Yeah, when she disappeared, it's like, no, you and Sam said she died.
Mm-hmm.
Also an Alias moment. Just saying.
But I just want to say, did Red say she was dead?
Well, Liz in this conversation, we have to go back and watch the episodes again.
I thought she just said Sam said she was dead.
No, she said Sam and you said she was dead.
Well, if Red said she was dead, then Red has to think that she's dead, because otherwise that would mean Red lied to her.
Exactly. That's where I was going.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think?
Then it goes, oh, crap, maybe he is a dad. Damn it.
I'm telling you, my personal opinion is everything that people believe hinders on the fact that you believe, and the showrunners have all said that, yes, Red doesn't lie to Liz. I'm telling you, everything we believe on the show hinders on that. So if that were to be proven untrue in any way, shape, or form, that means everything that he has said would be untrue. See what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll see where that goes. Just nice little catch. I think every fan should go back and re-listen to.
Unless I heard it wrong, but I watched it 3 times, and I swear she said you and Sam Sam and you told me she was dead.
Yeah, I thought she said Sam told me. So I guess this is Team Troy, Team Aaron. See which side is right. Somebody has got this down to the minute detail, and be sure and let us know. I'm pretty sure she just said Sam.
Or we could pause and I can find it real quick.
Okay, we took a second to break, and we found the line, and it actually is you and Sam. It says you and Sam. So Troy is correct. I am already proven wrong. All right. I guess I'm done. I don't really need to do the show anymore. Obviously, you should be taking those applications, Troy.
Well, I think the bigger thing then is like you said, like she said, disappeared. So is this one of those? I mean, we talked about this way back, I think in season 2 even. It's like, did he have to kill her in his mind? So he's really the father, but not the father kind of thing in order to make this plan work or whatever. So again, is this the thing where he thinks that Katerina Rostova is dead, so it's not a lie, or does he know, and then it is a lie, and then everything's a lie, and oh my gosh, we just ripped apart the whole thing.
Which is possible, and I'll be honest, that would not be a show killer for me, because that to me, that speaks to Red's character. That's just who Red is, and I think it would be one of those things that leads to my theory, my prediction, that Liz chases Red next season.
That could be.
Because her trust would be destroyed.
Crumbled.
Okay, some of the best lines that Red dropped this episode. I thought we weren't supposed to have phones. Is probably the one that made me laugh out loud. When he's sitting there and he's basically playing the conversation from what was her name? We just talked about
Macnamara.
Her. Thank you, Janet Macnamara. Damn it, Janet. He goes, I thought we weren't supposed to have phones. I thought that was a great touch. But the one everybody is raving about, tell our friends in hell to be patient. I'll be along soon enough.
Mm-hmm.
As he killed Marcus.
That was so great, too.
Do you like that he confessed his
No, I think at that point, most
treachery?
of the audience knew. But I think it's great that he actually told Marcus specifically, so Marcus would hear at his dying words.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so good. That was great delivery too on Spader's part.
There's so many people around though. How does he say it quiet enough that nobody hears him?
Yeah, I don't know. And can we, before we move on, I got to bring up something, okay? And this isn't on the format or anything else, but Gene Spader did an interview on Stephen Colbert.
Yes, this week,
right?
yeah.
And Megan Booth did she was. Well, we'll talk about her interview in a second. But
well, she was live with Regis and Kelly, and then she was, I think,
it's not Regis, man. Regis is gone.
Yeah,
it's Michael and Kelly.
Michael and Kelly, and then I think she was on Today's Show the morning after too, on Friday morning, right?
Yes, and she looks positively glowing, beautiful, just stunning. I mean, she looks great pregnant. She's one of those people that pregnant works great on her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And she cut her hair. She looks gorgeous. But back to Spader. Spader did an interview with Stephen Colbert, and I get that Stephen Colbert is a comedian and he's trying to be funny. It was probably one of the worst interviews I've watched.
Wow.
Personally. And not on Spader's part. I think Spader was delightful. He was trying to be himself, trying to be charming. And I felt, now maybe I'm taking it wrong. Maybe it was the shtick. Maybe they agreed to it. I don't know. But Colbert repeatedly said, referenced how strange Jane Spader is as an actor. And then every time he would ask him a question, he would cut him off when Spader was trying to answer. It was just like one of the most frustrating things as a fan of Jane, not just of Blacklist. I've been a fan of Jane Spader since the 80s, okay? So I really respect him as an actor, and I find his craft and how he I wouldn't say his method, but his quirky approach to acting just brilliant most of the time. I just find his technique brilliant. And I really felt like it was a really crappy, disrespectful way to interview somebody that I would consider one of the best of the last 30 years. And I don't say that just because of the show. I say that in general.
Yeah, I mean, his performance is alluring, and whatever he does, David Jackson, Stargate, Less Than Zero, Boston Legal, the way he does his characters. I mean, he puts like himself completely into the role, and as I was watching the interview, I thought the same thing. I was like, why do you keep interrupting him? Just let him finish.
Yeah, honestly, everybody should go find that because it's probably one of the most disappointing interviews I've ever seen. And it has nothing to do with Spader. I think Spader was trying to be himself. And I just felt like, man, Colbert needs to work on his interview technique. Because on Fallon, Spader's able to be himself and he's great.
Oh, yeah.
Love him.
Loved it.
Yeah, but it just, man, I was so disappointed. All right, well, by the end of the episode, he threatens Tom yet again, says you won't be marrying her against my objections again. Do you think that he's saying he will kill him?
Oh, I think so. And it'd be really interesting to see if it actually comes down to that, too.
Really?
Yeah, maybe if there's a war between the two of them over Liz, one of them's going to win out in the end, and that's going to be Red, because the show is Red.
I'm kind of hoping, well, not hoping, because I really like Ryan. I think he's really made that performance, or that character interesting, when I thought that character couldn't be interesting again. I think it would be an interesting development if by the end of the season, Red does, in fact, either have to try or does kill Tom. And that's why Liz goes after him next season.
Exactly.
In my hypothetical prediction.
Fits into your theory pretty well.
Yeah, that's what that'll be interesting. All right, Liz, before we get to the big news, she isn't an agent anymore, can't even get an apartment, and maybe wants to run away with Tom. What about these developments for you?
Middle of the road again. The apartment thing I thought was interesting.
I like that, actually.
I did at first, and then I was watching it the second and third time. I was like, but she was exonerated. It's like, just give her the apartment. Like, the place isn't that big in the first place.
Do you really think people think like that, Troy? Like, if they're exonerated, they're, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, if she couldn't get anybody else to rent it, and you got someone that's willing to take it in this economy, I'd say, like, just take the money and run, or charge her double in case she shoots up the place.
I recommend you watch Making a Murderer, because even if you're exonerated, you're still guilty. You know what I mean?
I can't watch Making a Murderer. I'm from Wisconsin. It's too close to home.
That's funny. I like that aspect. And a lot of people were wondering if Red made the apartment come to fruition. I don't believe so. I think the woman just had a change of heart. What do you think?
Well, I didn't think about it till now, but everything else happens in her life because Red makes it happen, especially if you look at the comic book, issue 1, Red helping out with some Quantico stuff there. I think possible. Absolutely possible.
I don't know. I think the woman just had a change of heart. She seemed like a good, decent person and was just taken aback that a just recently wanted fugitive was applying to live in her building. She's like, I don't want that in my building. I don't want that drama. Maybe she thought better of it.
The fact that the lady calls as she's talking to Red. No, I
think that's why people thought that, yeah.
I'm even more convinced now that, Kaplan or Dembe was like, here's the entire 5 years rent up front.
Oh, Lord.
Rent her the place, because then Red knows where she lives.
Well, by the end, she gets the apartment, so that's good news. And then we get to the ending for Liz, but she didn't get to do a whole lot of action this week, obviously, because she's in the van with Aram. But this is my other 2.5 minutes. At the end of the episode, she gets her ass kicked by a random Kmart shopper. And
I was okay with that.
Were you?
Yeah, because the way that the guy was looking at her at the fruit stand or whatever it was, and it made it seem like, there would be people that are pissed out there, and she's in a new neighborhood and nobody to protect her. Tom's not there, Red's not there, so I could totally buy people maybe beating her up on the street because she's such a recognizable face. Could be another criminal organization that we don't know about that would have been setting up the next episode. So I was actually okay with it, even though in the back of my mind I was like, all right, television, kicking her. The's going to be a baby coming. Hold on, it's coming. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Okay, first off, she doesn't need Tom or Red to protect her. She's proven time and time again she can protect herself.
But remember, you got to go back to the beginning of the episode. She didn't have her concealed carry permit anymore.
She still knows how to kick somebody's ass.
Not if she's got all the groceries and stuff and gets jumped.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I get that. She was taken by surprise and then, kicked repeatedly on the ground. It's very, very mean, by the way.
I mean, there was enough
mean
in the
Kmart shopper.
Oh yeah, for sure. But there was enough in this episode that you go, she doesn't have a gun. She's in a new place. Nobody knows where she really lives yet. Therefore, yeah, I could see someone kicking her butt because Ariak Kane wanted to kill her, right, and collect the bounty, and just because she thought that she killed her dad and mom. This guy is just like, you're just a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
So I could buy into it, but the back of my head was telling me, it's TV trope.
Do you think that he was hired? That's one question that keeps coming up. Do you think he was hired, or was that just a totally random event?
Well, that will go into how we discuss about the big topic.
Well, why don't you go about it? Because it just makes me hurt.
So my last minute, of course, was the "and you're pregnant," and it's like, oh, really? And then I go, okay, so let's just take a step back. Last season, we all said. Not we all, but some people were like, Liz is whiny. Why is Liz so whiny? And I believe, Aaron, you were the one that was like, stop picking on her. Just let the story play out, right?
I sure was. I was a staunch defender of Liz last season.
So just let the story play out. It's going to pay off. And it did, right? She ends up killing Connolly in cold blood. She's a badass.
Mm-hmm. Who can't defend a Kmart shopper, but that's beside the point.
So I started running through like scenarios. And I was like, okay, so it's a Blacklist baby. So number one. Tom and Red just had this confrontation. Maybe it's a setup so that Tom hired this guy to kick her down, say she's pregnant so that she'll run away with Tom because it'll be Tom's baby because obviously Red and her haven't got it on, at least in the series that we know of. And because of that, Tom will get her to leave Red and it's a fake pregnancy. So that was option one.
Okay.
Option two was obviously, she's got kicked in the stomach, the baby's fine, but at some point in time, there's a miscarriage. It happens, especially if it's her first kid. Usually, the first one or so usually ends up, not coming to full term. It happens. It's a sad situation. Happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another option. Option three.
Sorry. Did you say that happened to you?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. But then
thanks for bringing your personal pain to the show.
No problem. Option three, which I think is the most interesting option, is that we go back to the situation where she was in the theater, the Jen episode, and she's talking about her fantasy about with my husband in the park and our daughter swinging between our arms, and Red was kind of having that teary-eyed situation. And I immediately went to thinking, okay, maybe she has the baby, but then there's a kidnapping situation. So maybe there's something bigger with the Katerina Rostova storyline that potentially... like maybe Red kidnapped Liz from Katerina, so maybe Katerina is going to kidnap Liz's daughter from Liz as a potential option. So there's ways a baby could work in the show. So at this point, I'm okay with it for now. So I'm on this point last year, right? Let it play out to the season finale. I'm going to let it play out to the season finale before I pass judgment.
It's bigger than that for me. I have gone on the record many times as saying if they wrote the pregnancy in, I would be disappointed. And I am, if that is the case.
Well, now, the pregnancy being written in is interesting, though, because if you go back, Red also in this episode mentioned, or even I think Liz mentioned it too, like, we've been on the run for 3 months. So, and then that was when she was, rocking the boat at the end of last season. So if she's 3 months pregnant, but then she's like, 6 to 9 months pregnant, I can't remember what she said in the interview. I know it was late in the game for her. In real
7
life.
months. She was 7 months on Regis and Michael.
So the timing will be
interesting.
Sorry,
Regis and Michael. Kelly and Michael. Yeah. Kelly and Michael.
So the timing is interesting. I wonder how it'll play out. That's all I'm saying. And plus, she cut her hair with the brown hair. So are they going to go back to Wiggate and put a blonde wig on? Or is she going to go back to being a brunette on the show?
I don't know. You going to let me have my thoughts now?
Yeah, now you can go.
Okay. Here's why I feel that way about pregnancy or babies on the show. I have never seen a television show where a baby, and X-Files, maybe. I mean, if any show comes closest, the X-Files comes closest, where an actor or an actress is pregnant and they have a baby and they write it somehow into the show. X-Files maybe would be in the conversation. But for the vast majority, 99% of television, I have not seen a situation where a baby being brought into the show because of this situation makes the show better. Or actually any situation. For an action or heavily serialized drama like this makes the situation better.
So you're saying a baby brought into the show because one of the actresses is pregnant?
Yes.
Okay, versus actually writing a baby into the show regardless of a pregnancy.
I honestly think a baby into a show like this doesn't do a service no matter what the situation is. I mean, you can point to, like a prime example is Walking Dead, okay? And I realize they're not the same kind of shows, but it's a heavily serialized show, happens week to week, characters are in constant danger, that sort of thing. The baby is a hindrance, or it's used as a plot device throughout the entire show, and it becomes so irritating. Either the baby is not around, or it's in constant danger. Either one of those is infuriating to me as a viewer. It's, well, not infuriating. Bugs me. It's frustrating. I find it disappointing. I don't like, and I'm sorry, even though we're fans of the show, it doesn't mean that we can't address real concerns with the show. I'm sorry. If something bothers me, I'm going to be honest about it. I'm not going to just hide it. I'm going to be very respectful, but honest. That's a situation that always bugs me. Walking Dead has proven that time and time again. By now, I just want Rick Grimes' little baby to be a frag grenade, you know, just to pull the walkers, because all it does is just pull away from the show. And
even though when Little Ass Kicker's born, it's a pretty powerful scene. I mean, I remember just, retching on the ground, crying, sobbing. My wife's like, "Are you crying at a zombie show?" And I was like, "It's more than a zombie show."
Yeah, absolutely. But then it just doesn't. I mean, it so just becomes a hindrance.
So even though that was powerful, you'd still rather not have had the baby at all.
Yes. Okay. Or the baby, unfortunately didn't make it. I mean, it's that kind of show where that would work fine, and it wouldn't, deter from the show. It would actually work in the show's favor. We're here. This is what I see. And keep in mind, okay, I am trying to be completely fair. I don't know what's going to happen. It could be she's really not pregnant. It could be that she loses the baby along the way. It could be that the baby becomes like the best storytelling device that the show has ever known. There's a lot of, it could show Red's softer side because he has to care for the baby. It could show a lot of things, okay?
Oh, I definitely do not want House. We're not playing House here. That is a no.
But a lot of these things could happen.
Yes.
So I have faith in the writers that they know what they're doing, that we're going forward. I'm just telling you what my concerns are and why this bothers me, and why I've said in the past, if they wrote that in, I would consider leaving the podcast. Of course, that was a joke, like let it go. But, I'm trying to explain why I feel that way. I just haven't seen it happen where it benefited the show I'm watching. And, like I said, X-Files might be the exception to the rule. But outside of that, I haven't seen it. Because now all I'm picturing down the road is baby got kidnapped. Now we got to get the baby back. Baby's in constant danger because, it's Masha Rostova's baby. There's just a whole lot of things that I picture that make me leery of that concept. Now, could it work? Absolutely. There's been a ton of things in TV shows that I thought couldn't work that did. This is the one thing, babies in shows like this, that I just haven't found to really ever work well.
Well,
that's my 2 cents.
I'd postulate 2 other shows, and of course you guys can probably figure out which 2 shows those are. But Alias, I thought, Jennifer Garner being pregnant, that actually helped out because it introduced us to Rachel Nichols.
I disagree. I think it was a very weak aspect of that final season.
But it was a great part of the ending, the finale.
No, it wasn't. The baby didn't add anything solid to that show. If anything, it became more cumbersome because of it.
Okay, and then I would postulate Fringe, which you've never seen.
Which I haven't seen, so I can't speak to Fringe. Sorry, Fringe people.
So
I'll get right on it. But, and I'm not saying that, look.
Well, even Lost, I'll go for the trifecta. Baby Aaron.
Lost is definitely not one you want to bring up, because I
you
totally hate that aspect.
You don't like the ending, but Baby Aaron was such a powerful part of the show.
Was not to me. No.
Oh,
sorry, I'm not on board with that.
Then you were a Lost hater.
No, I love Lost. I love the characters in Lost. It's just the baby he became the same thing. He became a plot device. I don't. If is it essential to telling a quality story? All right, I'll see where that story plays out. Now, in the shows you mentioned, it didn't work for me. And, that doesn't mean I'm a Lost hater. I love Lost. I didn't love the ending. I love the character version of the ending. Didn't love the mythology ending. There you go. Got all the start a fan base fury over that. That's where I stand on it. That's just where I stand on babies and TV shows. I just haven't found it to be a welcoming story development. Now, I'm hoping that it turns into one. Here's the thing. Whenever you find something that you don't like about storytelling or that doesn't work, a cliche that bothers you, somebody at some point can make that cliche work. Happens all the time. I watch so many movies. I see it happen every year over and over. Things that you think could never work again are made to work again because somebody does an original thing with it or twists it or makes it more creative than you thought it could have happened. So that could happen with the show. I have faith in these writers. I have faith in the story they're telling. I think they can make it work. I'm hoping they can make it work. But I will tell you, that is my legitimate concern. And when it happened at the end of the show, just like I think a lot of people, I felt my stomach go, oh no, oh no. So I'm hoping that doesn't end up being the case, because I'm of the mindset that you could have just done the whole hide her behind cushions and just show her face for the neck up. You were doing body doubles in this episode, it seemed like to me. So that could have continued, but you chose to go this direction. If that's the direction it ends up being, which is she has the baby, I'll just hope for the best. I mean, it can work. I know there's a lot of naysayers, and I'm probably one of them, but it can work. It can if they can turn the cliche on its ear.
And I think if any show can, it's this one. I mean, the Djinn was a great episode this season, a very powerful episode in tackling concepts that I don't think many shows would even want to touch. And the fact that they were able to pull that off, I think, just shows that there's a lot more thought that's going into this. And like you said, we just got to ride it out to the end of the season to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to change my stance that I had last season, which was let's let it play out and see where it goes. By the end of the season, we'll know how this works, and we'll know if it
worked or didn't work.
If it worked or didn't work. And I'll be completely honest which way I feel about it. And I'm sure you will too. So we'll see where it goes, and I will let it play out and give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm only saying what my initial reaction was to this story device. I'm hoping for them to all prove me wrong and make me feel like a big dum-dum by the end of the episode.
Which was the same
season.
Yeah, which was the same reaction I think we all had when Wrestler and Samara hooked up. We were all like chucking shoes at TVs and what the hell? And then you're kind of like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it can happen. But this to me is a lot bigger. Of a much bigger storytelling device, because this one doesn't just go away. You have a baby, you can't just like, let's not have the baby around for a while. The baby will always be part of the story because of the characters involved. So, and I also don't want the thing where you go 4 episodes without seeing the kid. Walking Dead has the same problem. It's like, who's watching this kid, Rick Grimes? I mean, you're constantly going out risking your life. Shouldn't you be worried about being a dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. So you don't want to have that instance, and so there's a lot of concerns with this story. So you're just fingers crossed that they had, I am sure, weighed every option. They know what they're doing. And next week we might come back and be like, it was all a ruse by Tom to get Liz away from Red. And that might ultimately be what it is. You never know.
And I am super crossing my fingers that if it does come to play and she carries it to term, born, healthy, whatever, dear God, please no time jump. No time jump. No time jump.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I actually hate time jumps more than I hate babies.
Well, I'm sure that there's some people that I
hate
ticked
babies.
off of that. But
I don't hate babies. I hate babies on TV.
Got 2 babies that are pretty much grown now, so yeah, I don't hate them either.
Right.
All right, well, the show's not over, so don't go anywhere. I think that's going to do it for this particular portion.
Yes.
But we have more to do. But remember to download the Blacklist Exposed app for iOS and Android, and be sure to go even deeper into the mystery of Red Reddington, who we now know is most likely the real Red Reddington, by visiting our partner Blacklist site, theblacklistnbc.com. Now fully redesigned for 2016 and mobile friendly. Keep an eye out as we look to add the pre- and post-show blab conversations to the website.
Yes, and thanks to Josie, who wrote in and said, excellent podcast. Can't wait every Saturday to listen to it. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for writing in, Josie. We really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Do you think I offended anybody with those comments? I don't really think so. No, I think it was pretty honest, and I think some people feel the same. So
there are a lot of people that are like, baby.
And now let's relive some of those great stories from Red with this week's Red's Rhetoric.
Well, this week, 59% are scared of being behind the curve, as you prefer to be trendsetters like the director, making Red Trend last week's winner. Our first scene this week comes with a bit of a grammar lesson.
Comforting to see that everyone's appetites for food, lies, and larceny have not diminished over the years. And although some of you might have room for yet another dessert or patience for one more hilarious story, I'm afraid I don't. Earlier this week, the murder of 3 of my contractors was ordered by someone in this room to send a message that they believed I was working with the FBI. It was a vile, cowardly, unforgivable act that, quite frankly, has resulted in very little impact on me when compared to the devastating loss felt by the children of those 3 dead women. Now, given the publicity surrounding the assistance I rendered to Special Agent Elizabeth Keene during her recent stint as a fugitive, I understand where one's suspicion may come from, but it is unfounded. And before this dinner is over, I will not only prove that I have not betrayed us, I will identify the person who has.
Save your breath, Reddington. Your grave's already been dug.
I'm sorry, but been dug? Is that correct? That doesn't sound correct, Marcus.
I think it's digged. It is dug.
I'm fairly sure digged is the archaic past tense. I suppose they're both grammatically correct. Sounds funny either way. I'm sorry, you were saying.
Our second scene this week is where we get to play the name game.
Raymond, what is this?
He's not Raymond Reddington. He knew I called this meeting. He knew that I was going to accuse him of being an imposter, so he beat me here.
I told you that before this dinner was done, I would prove my innocence and identify the person who'd betrayed us. Meet the fake Red. Faux Red. Fred.
Fred.
I took Agent Elizabeth Keene on as a client when she was a fugitive to gain her trust in exchange for information as to who was responsible for decimating our ranks. Like you, I'd heard the rumors that I was the one who betrayed us. And sure enough, after gaining her trust, she confirmed that the Bureau's confidential informant was a Raymond Reddington.
I'm so totally confused.
Is it possible they know each other?
If that's true, my head is definitely going to explode.
By the way, very clever, Marcus. Abducting Janet Macnamara in your search for the truth. But you and I both know the confession you coerced from that poor woman you're holding at Calabrese Fine Imports was simply to confirm your lie.
I think we're gonna kill both of you.
You've been nipping at my heels ever since the incident at that awful karaoke bar in Mombasa.
You're a liar.
I would very much like to hear what he has to say.
It's simple. Marcus hired him.
Hired?
To surrender himself to the FBI pretending to be me so he could use the feds to dismantle my business.
This is absurd.
Words, words, words. No proof.
You want proof? The FBI would never fly blind into an operation like this. He's wired.
Which was your favorite? Be sure to sound off in the Facebook group or vote in the Twitter polls. If you think you have better grammar than the criminals of the underworld, then vote Red Grammar. Or if you would prefer to have your own doppelganger, vote Red Fred.
All right, now it's time for Special Agent Intel. These are thoughts from our listeners on this week's show that we're talking about. Andrew wrote in and said, I'll say it up front. I was very disappointed and upset with the final scene, but I'll save my ranting for later. Let's start with Fake Red, or Fred, who was very convincing during the scenes with Fred, and the Shell Island baddies. When the show confounds and confuses us, but then brings it all full circle in a somewhat satisfying way, it makes for a good episode. And Red's final explanation, that Gregory Devry was an old friend, grifter, who has terminal cancer, was a perfect ending to this storyline. In the grand scheme of things, Devry, whose name was mentioned only once, a new record for anyone whose name has adorned the title of the episode, wasn't an important blacklister, but I think he will be one to remember. Janet Macnamara, the FBI executive who gets kidnapped, has to be some kind of next-level stupid to flee the scene and allow herself to get taken. I'll say right now, I'm not happy with Liz being pregnant, but even I'm pissed about how she found out. I mean, she's supposed to be a badass, but can't defend herself from a redneck who beats her up at the grocery store.
Wow.
I think we talked about that.
We did. Dondi wrote in and said, another very good episode. One thing that caught my attention was how they subtly set up with a line from the end of The Director Part 2, the line, paraphrasing, I know who you really are and what Elizabeth Keene is to you. It did introduce a smidgen of doubt in the question of was Red really Red, and in my opinion made the episode better. By now you all must be aware just how pregnant Megan Boone is. With an April due date, she is most likely going to have to be written out of the last 4 or so episodes. I'm guessing that the insurance people will demand it at some point. How do you think they will compensate for that? Question.
I think I talked about that last week. I believe that she'll probably be abducted in some way or be housed for her own safety. One of those two things. And so that will be the reason why you don't see her. Or there's a possibility where they could actually shoot some footage that they could use later.
That was my line.
There's their possibility.
Yeah, they'll shoot it early so that way it's not a problem, and then it's edited in and no one's the wiser. Let's see. Continuing. In any case, they made Lizzie pregnant as well, and I'm curious how you think they will deal with it. 1, the pregnancy of the character in general. 2, what will they do about a baby in the show? May not come up even until season 4. How will they handle the baby daddy, who is, after all, a bit nuts, assuming it's Tom's? There is a timing difference.
Did you say assuming it's Tom's?
Well,
it's Tom's. I mean, they showed her on the boat getting it on. Let's not paint her in that corner. All right, it's Tom's.
There was the baby mama farm. She could have been injected. I mean, there's all kinds of Blacklist stories you could go with it. I'm just saying.
There are, but I think this is the best way to assume.
Okay. There is a timing difference, and so we talked about this, Megan, 6 months along, and Liz is something like 3, assuming it was Tom on the boat at the end of season 2 that did it. That's got to have an effect in a season time jump, perhaps. No. Please no.
You really don't like time jumps, do you?
I do not like time jumps. I mean, time jumps, even on Alias, where they jump times in the 3rd season, by the end of the 3rd season, you forget about the time jump. So, but initially it was like so jarring. It's like, really? It's like a whole new show. It kind of reboots it and resets it. I don't like reboots and resets.
Can I ask you a question? If John Eisendrath wasn't on this show, would you reference Alias as much as you do?
I don't think there would be as much Alias reference in the show if John Eisendrath wasn't on it.
Okay. That's probably fair. All right, continue.
Okay, I could see Liz deciding to keep this all a secret except for Red, Dembe, and Mr. Kaplan as a safety precaution, perhaps even going to the extent of having the baby raised as if it was the child of someone else. Finally, I was wrong about Cooper's memory leak. I didn't realize there was another witness, and since Samar served the shortest suspension in modern history, I'm likely wrong on her teaming up with Lizzie as well. My crystal ball has failed me. Shucks. Until next week, aloha.
Oh, I wonder if Donnie's from Hawaii?
I would assume so.
Oh, I love Hawaii. Seriously, if you can find me a room, I'd be more than happy to just quit everything and move there. I would live in Hawaii tomorrow.
It's expensive.
Yeah, well, you know what? If I got to be homeless, where else to be homeless but Hawaii?
True.
All right, Doc H also had this to say about the Nicole Phillips interview. I think I have a little bit of a crush on writer Nicole Phillips now. I like she is working her way up through the ranks. She has spunk. I love spunk, unlike Lou Grant. You guys were really great with her. I am almost always Team Troy. What the hell does that mean?
She likes me better.
Obviously. I guess you like ridiculous theories. But with this interview, I would have to call it a draw. So I can't even get the win, right? It's just I'm good enough for a tie now, is what he's telling me. Way to step up, Team Aaron. I'm being nice right now. I hope you know that. I have the insider TV movie smarts too. And you guys asked all the perfect questions, pitching to her wheelhouse. Boom, out of the park. Thank you, sir. Do appreciate that. You guys have a bit of a crush on her too. I can tell. Nothing wrong with that. All right, that's true. I'm not going to lie. She's attractive and smart. I like both those qualities.
Definitely smart.
She sounds like a long-term asset for the industry and for GSM. You need to cultivate this talent as she just raised your street cred up a notch and a half. An articulate intelligence from within the trenches, one that is destined to influence those around her. It is nice to see an elegant first contact in any format. Oh, that's very nice.
Very
Thank
nice.
you very much.
You bet. Yep, and you can hear that on episode 43 is the Nicole Phillips interview, and issue 6 is out on stands now as we look at a new blacklister in The Arsonist.
Yep. Gotta definitely check it out. She was great to talk to. Well, that will conclude this episode. Be sure to follow us on Twitter this season at The Blacklist GSM, where we live tweet during the East Coast feed, and we use the show's hashtag, The Blacklist. We also have a Facebook group to search for The Blacklist Exposed and join us for the fun.
Intel from you is what we want, and we have a few ways you can submit it in here into the agency. You can interact with us on Tumblr, Instagram, or as always, visit theblacklistexposed.com. You can actually call us and leave us a message at the phone number on the website, or use your smartphone and use our send voicemail button.
And you can also subscribe to the podcast in iTunes and leave us a review or listen from the website if you're really on the go. Make sure you download our app for iOS or Android, powered by Spreaker. You will also find all the intel and analysis about this episode for Mr. Gregory Devry by visiting theblacklistexposed.com. Big thanks for listening. Don't forget to answer our profiling question of the week. How do you feel about a blacklist baby? That's going to do it for this episode, guys. Take care.
You bet. See you later. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs. That's at Troy Heinrichs on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsider.com or on Twitter at H_outsider. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of the Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production, copyright 2015. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.